They're all piled in the tunnel that's all tore up. Yeah, that's cuteness. Look at that pile. You guys about ready to run around? This is Jim Miller's garden. I'm taking a look at these bunnies first. Maybe some people will start watching. Look at you guys. Yeah. Mommy Bunny says, I'm tired of these kids. Hey, bunnies. Someone come up here on the edge and take a peek. Come over here. That bunny say Happy Labor Day. Happy Labor Day. You got big feet. Nobody's. I assume we're going. Hey, bunnies. You guys look like you're having your nap time. All stretched out. Let's look at this. That's a young ladybug without its spots. It's looking for something to eat. Why don't you go to the garden? Where'd you go? Oh, you're over here. Where are you at? Oh, you're over. Jeez. Here's a immature ladybug. They don't get their spots until they're adults. Walking around. It needs to go to the garden and work on those white flies, among other things. He's looking in that crack. Let's go back to these bunnies. Got 7 people watching. Let's look at what you up to. Well, happy Labor Day again, everybody. Oh, what you doing? Whee! Neighbors' bunnies. Mommy and Daddy Bunny got in my garden, and ate a few things, and they caught them, and they put them in a kennel, and the white one had, I think, 10 babies. So if you put two bunnies together, hello, you put two bunnies together, there's more bunnies. These guys and these little ones might make bunnies if they're left alone. So that's gonna be, look at all you guys. You're all the same color. And you're kind of together. Mommy and Daddy says, get me out of here. Bunnies. Oh, I think they're about 5 months old. I'm gonna go look at these chickens, see what calamity they got themselves. Hi there. Oh boy. Are you guys okay? Showing off? Work, work, work. Look, the chickens are scaring the viewership away. You guys, why don't you crow? You crow for me. You crowed the other day. I crowed. These pullets are bigger than they're not pullets anymore. That speckled one's a young hen, and there's another speckled one. This dark red one's a young chicken, and another speckled one. How come what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16. One got killed by a hawk. I don't know if they're all, I'm gonna have to talk to I need to talk to the owner and see if they moved chickens or something happened to a few. Okay, there's 2 in there. That'll be 19. Oh gosh. Well, there's supposed to be 24 live ones. I think we're kind of close. I'm gonna go around to the nest. Here's one that's sitting outside the nest. You look a little hot. You gonna drop an egg there? Kabuk, kabuk, kabuk. Okay. One's on the nest. There's 6, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22. Around 22. There's these guys. Well, the last time I did a video, this little silky rooster. Go, why don't you crow? That hen wants out. Was the hen being picked on too? I think they brought them both over for a bark, bark, bark. Well, you're kind of happy. You guys scared the viewers away. Hey, ducks, bring in some viewers, ducks. Come on. The ducks are even worse. They're scaring them away. Okay. Let's do a count again. 5, 7, 8, 12. Hold on. 5, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I think the other one's 16, we hope. 18. 20, around 22. I'm not going to count anymore. 22 chickens. Which mean there's possibly 2 that are unaccounted for. But they put these ducks in with the chickens a week ago or so because there was a hawk harassing them. And I think the ducks were too rough on the chickens, so I think they got kicked out. But I read an article that ducks are pretty, they can pretty much defend themselves against hawks. They said something like young ducks are susceptible to being, killed by a hawk. So far so good. I haven't seen that hawk for a while, so he may have given up on the harassing. Let's go to the bunnies again. Yay, bunnies. Oh, look at this one. Oh, that wire sure messes up a good photo. Good. It's sleeping. It's sleeping. If you guys don't stir around, I'm going to the garden. This little one's eating some hay. Here comes a couple, 3. Let's get some, well, maybe the scarecrow's keeping the hawk away. I doubt it. It might be working. Buns. Okay. I got another thumbs up. I think that little one got the thumbs up. let's get about, we had, geez, we had over 10 viewers at one time. And everybody left. The chickens weren't a hit, so I came back here. Buck, buck, buck. I'll give this another minute or two. You guys you're not putting on a bunny show today. It's not hot out. Okay, I'm gonna go over and take a look at my garden. Show everybody the garden, how it's doing. Okay, here's a little pumpkin. It's probably not going to get much bigger, and it's starting to turn. I can see a little bit of orange on its skin, so it'll ripen here in a couple of weeks. This one here, I think it's got, the sun kind of made it ripen fast on the end, and it's been pretty dry, so that was a factor in it turning orange on the end. Okay, here is another little pumpkin that's just started. I put a board under it. If you don't put stuff under the pumpkins, they'll start to rot. Here is a butternut squash. It probably could be picked rather soon here. And there's another one hanging on the fence. And here is a couple of very nice large tomatoes out of a volunteer tomato plant. Those look rather good. This year I've had a lot of volunteer tomatoes that come up from seed that was in the compost, and I don't know how this one got over here. There wasn't any, it probably washed down in the rain from somewhere, but it's completely out of the garden, so to speak. And it wasn't planted here with squash and pumpkins, so it's a mystery why is that one there. Am I zoomed? Yes. Another little tomato plant. Those are medium-sized tomatoes. That's not bad. Here's a little green, like a zucchini type squash. And here is that, I gotta get that one off the ground. This tomatillo. And look at all the tomatillos. This one needs to be picked. Its husk is starting to ripen. What's this here? Well, that's an empty husk. I need to pick a bunch of these, and I may look up what these are used in, or is in salsa verde, and I certainly got enough to make that now. I need to look up a recipe. This is a beautiful plant. This came in from likely birds, brought it in, and they ate the seed and they pooped it out on the ground. And this is, I got one plus another tomatillo that's growing in the main garden. Here is a tomato that was growing. It came over with some the squash. I had a hill of squash here that I had. There was volunteer squash, and I put a gob of them here. And what we ended up with was a tomatillo and a tomato. And I think the squash are pretty much long gone. They've, I mean, they put on pumpkins, and I took them in the house of whatever was there. That's long ago. And here is another tomato, a bunch of tomatoes. This one here is, that could be another pineapple tomato. I got a large, right in here there was another pineapple tomato that I picked for Nana, and she liked it. It was really good. The funny thing is, she thought she bought some pineapple tomatoes. She bought 6 of them, but they ended up just, yellow tomatoes. And she wanted the pineapples, but I have found several pineapple tomatoes that are part of the volunteer. So she had some pineapple tomatoes last year. She bought the tomatoes and threw the seeds in the compost, so they germinated in the compost, and I moved them around. And I'm just happy to have she was really happy to have at least a few pineapple tomatoes. And where was that? Here's a little pumpkin. Where did I put those? Oh, there's one there. I need to put a thing under it. I'll just show everybody that. Well, it's cleaning up. I'll take these old waste material from the house, and I put that underneath and keep it from getting on the ground and rotting. Here's another pumpkin that's getting a little ripe. My toilet tomato is not looking good. I thought it started wilting one day, and I added water, and it didn't help it much. It must be just there's some of it looks kind of all right, but most of it's died back, and it's about the end of the line for that. It was a nice experiment. I might plant I don't know what I'll do next year. And here's that old bucket tomato. I used this bucket about 4 years and just keep throwing tomatoes in every year, and here's one that's about ripe. Here is the bush Goliath. I've already had a lot of tomatoes. They started at the ground and they just kept bringing up levels, and this is like the 5th level. They would, at about the same height, they would have a good half dozen of tomatoes, and they grow taller and they put out more tomatoes. And it looks like there's another group of small ones coming on this plant. I didn't expect this plant to last. This plant was planted in early April, so we got like 4 months in, and it's still working, still running tomatoes. And here's a tomato on the ground that I'll pick tomorrow. It's starting to ripen. It came off of this volunteer tomato. And here is my cabbage experiment. I planted cabbage midsummer. They look really good. If I keep them sprayed, I think there's going to actually be cabbage on this fall. And this smaller one is where I replanted. I think I overwatered them and the stems rotted. And now I got one there in that spot. And here is there's a lot of pumpkins growing. A lot of these are volunteer. There's these flowers. These are marigolds. These are really pretty. That one's especially pretty. They came up. No, I'm starting to think I brought those over with the manure. The neighbors might have thrown the marigold seed in the compost in my early corn was here long ago, and these marigolds possibly were in that manure. So that might be the reason they're here. Instead of just blowing in, the neighbor's house is there. I thought they like washed down in, which they could have, but I'm starting to think because they're in a row in the corn row. There's one, two, there's a third one down there blooming, and there's a fourth one that's about ready to bloom. So I'm starting to think they were in the corn row from the chicken manure. So just kind of dawned on me just now that, okay, looking through and these are nightshade berries. These came last year. They came from seed that the birds probably brought in, and I recognized them from my South Dakota garden. This is in Tennessee. I'm gonna have more. And those are not as ripe. Oh, there's some pretty ones down there. These got to be tasty good. Big fat. So I recognized the plants, and I made sure there weren't a poisonous berry, and I've been eating them. They're really good. A good morning snack. Here's a couple. Here's a pumpkin and more of a squash. And these, all these squash here they came up in the corn when I brought in that chicken manures too. And here, these are grape tomatoes. There's not very many yet. I had some last year that came in again. I need to tie this up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this tomato to the fence, and then it'll crawl around and stay upright. So that's a little chore to do. And here is a bean plant. Last year I planted a row kind of right up here, up through there. And this is a volunteer bean plant from last year. And last year I had a bean plant climb this fence, just one plant, and I would get buckets and buckets of beans all through the fall. And this one is following in the footsteps of the beans last year, of the one bean plant. I got one bean plant crawling up this fence, and it's putting out good. Here this is actually a very, very pretty pumpkin. It's a real decent sized, and it came from the opposite fence where I had my second corn, and I put chicken manure around it also, and it crawled through the fence. It actually was hanging up on this fence, but the pumpkin got too heavy and it dropped straight down and landed on this board, and it should keep it from rotting. At least I hope so. And here's another pumpkin from those pumpkins on the other side of the fence. I think I need to put something under it that will keep it off the ground better. I can see it's on the ground. So let's see how I can get in through here. Where is that? Okay, this morning I put this little pumpkin on a piece of cement, and maybe it was, I don't know. I did a video maybe a couple weeks ago, and I think on the video I took a blossom, a male blossom, and I fertilized that. Now it's growing. Here's the other tomatillo I was talking about. It needs to be reset, and I need to tie it back up good to keep those tomatillos off the ground and keep them from rotting. Let's get some more nightshades. Ooh. They kind of smush in your hand, but they still taste good. Okay, here is a little acorn squash that I just fertilized this morning. Another volunteer tomato, and here's another one that's pretty tall. Here's that volunteer tomato row. I'm gonna pick tomatoes tomorrow. Looks like there's a few. And that row of tomatoes were the ones that came with the first ones I planted in the spring. These first, is it 2 or 3? They're all jumbled together. They got new tomatoes on it. That one's dead. And there's a bush Goliath that's barely hanging on. And I should have shown that other one. There's a Cherokee that put tomatoes rather well, and then they died back, and it started growing back, and there's one little tomato on it, but now the plant's dying back again, so it's probably not going to do much. Here's my 3-year-old cabbage. There's 2 little plants left, and they might survive the winter, and I might get another cabbage possibly from them. So I'm just going to let that go. Here's a nice volunteer marigold. The tomatoes pretty much got it shaded out, but it's doing okay. Okay, here's my little avocado plants. They were growing in a compost, and I brought them up and put in the planters. And here's my row. Here's my bucket tomatoes. I used pretty rich chicken manure, and they didn't do all that well, but here's a large tomato on them. I've been getting tomatoes here and there for the last several month or so. Here is a nice tomato. This tomato's in the garden itself, and it's got a nice large tomato right now. It's probably about a week from starting to turn and getting picked. So I think I got this part covered. Last week I was out of water from the roof, and I got this one. This under here is, that one's about full. So I got plenty of water for a while for the plants that I need to water. And here's my 5th corn, and I'm going to start picking it tomorrow. And it's done superbly, really well. Nice big ears, a lot better than last year's corn. I'm just going to go down the row. Lots of big ears. Hey, where is that? That one's probably beyond. That one's probably about 3 days off. And every stalk at least has one ear on it. And here's the last one that's got silks. And I think I put some pollen on it twice. And there's no more pollen anywhere. See, the pollen, this tassel is finished. So I hope it got a little bit. And I see there's more silks down there. And that one ain't gonna have corn on it. I know that right now. So I'll go to this, finish this, walking this corn. I think that one's got kernels. A lot of this corn, it's got, not this group, and not that one. The one at the end does. Like this stalk here, it's got a nice ear here, and it's got a nice ear there. And it's at the end of the row where it gets more sun. That's probably why it's, and it looks like that other one, other side, this got, that feels like that'll probably have kernels too. Just a little bit more sunlight makes a big difference. I'm gonna leave the cage off of this. It's getting too big. I put that on because the squirrels were digging around a little bit, and I put that as protection. I think it's big enough to. And here is, like, this has been replanted twice, cabbage, and it's got sun now. That one's going to be interesting how that turns out. It may overwinter and then cabbage, make some good cabbage next spring. I don't know. It could freeze and die this winter. So that's an experiment. Here is a nice green, dark green pumpkin off of these vines that were planted months ago. And here's another one of those steel post caged tomatoes from Volunteers. This one's backed off in its production. It was fairly productive. It needs tying up good. I got a little chores to do. And here is another These were actually, this was I brought a pretty good group of volunteer squash down. This tomato plant was, one of these is a tomato that was in that group, and the other is a tiny row of other tomatoes, just tomatoes. They're kind of falling in together, and they're quite a few little tomatoes on that, and the foliage looks real healthy, so it may do. And there is, from the single plant that has the big green pumpkin, there's another flower that I fertilized this morning. So that one, pretty good chance, because the plant's healthy, that'll put on another pumpkin. these two here, these pumpkin plants, I don't see a female flower on these. It's getting pretty late in the summer for them to do anything. Plus the sunlight hours are getting worse on these, and the temperatures are starting to drop a little. And here is my caged tomato that it took forever to get going, and now it's doing rather well. It's topped the posts. Lots of little tomatoes on it right now, so it's come along. And here is my spring cabbage. I cut the cabbages off. These down here, look, they might have small cabbages. These up here, I took what little cabbage that was the second growth of them, and I cut them and put them in the fridge. And I might put those in a soup or something like that. I haven't decided. Here is what's left of the beefsteak tomatoes that I planted. I actually started these, I think it was the 11th of January in the house. I started this seed, and it was old seed, and some of the planters didn't have plants sprout, so I added more seed until I got all the well, I think it was, might have been four. No, I think it was six. I think it was 6 starter pots, and I divided tomatoes out and put them in separate hills. So didn't have much for pots, but I ended up with 13 tomatoes, and they're about finished. This up here, this looks like, this might come along and put another tomato. Here's a pumpkin that has a very small bottom. That's not a good jack-o'-lantern type. I can make a funny one with it laying on its side, and here's a real nice pumpkin down here off of these pumpkins on this lower end. And here's a nice little pumpkin. Where's this one? I just discovered yesterday. It was obscured by the leaves, and I put a brick under it yesterday. So I'm getting a good bunch of rather good looking pumpkins late in the summer from these volunteers that came up in the corn rows. I gotta zoom back out. And this is that whole lower patch of pumpkins that are crawling all over. They got into I'll look at these Marconis too. There's a pumpkin. Where's some good Marconis? I got 4 giant Marconi plants with a good number of peppers now. And I put a little plastic under that one to keep them from rotting on there. And I got to watch this ground. It got wet again. We got, I think it was 8200s over the last 3 days. And it's perked things up good. It's going to be pretty cool this week, so it won't be starved for water that much. Okay, go up here. Okay, this is one little, this is like my second planting of volunteer tomatoes. There's a few left on it. And this is my first that didn't do very good, but there's a few more tomatoes on it. But this bunch here, when it was growing good, it was really tall and bushy, and I had a lot of tomatoes off of it. And here, a pumpkin climbed up, a squash plant climbed up, and here's a pumpkin growing on the top of this. I got these old, what are they? The telephone, these wires from the phones that we didn't use, and I used that to hold this stuff up, and now a pumpkin's laying on it. And here's what's left of the yellow tomato row. The 6, they were supposed to be pineapple, but they're yellow. They're pretty good tomato. I've frozen a lot of them. I separated the yellows. Okay, the tomato was grabbing my pants. Get out of this. And I froze several bags of just yellow tomatoes by themselves, and I'm gonna, when I run out of tomatoes in the garden, I'll start eating those, and I'm gonna try to make a light colored chili. I'll use like white beans. I haven't seen this. I'll use white beans and the yellow tomatoes and make a light colored chili. And here's a little pumpkin I just discovered, and I'll put it on top of that little log and keep it from rotting. It's probably not going to get much bigger, but it's safe for now. Okay, here's a nice looking, really pretty marigold plant. Got a lot of flowers. This rain have helped it from drying up. So it's got 50 flowers on it or so. And it's going to get prettier as we go. And here is the sweet potato patch. I watered it last week just to make sure it had a water to kind of keep it going well. And now it's rained again, and it's supposed to rain at the end of the week. So, and it's taken up. I have to flip the tomatoes out of the tomatoes, and I've put it, but I'm letting that crawl. It's crawled into where my potatoes were, and now it's crawling into where the watermelon patch is. So I don't know how much, and it's also climbing that fence. It's climbing the fence. And I assume there's sweet potatoes under that pile, that massive vines. I never grown sweet potatoes. I must be doing a good job. They actually got the groundhogs came in here and ate all the leaves off when they were smaller. And I thought, well, I got to get rid of these groundhogs, and I did. And they recovered, the sweet potatoes recovered, and now they're just flourishing. Here is a nice pumpkin down here, and it came from this row here. That's just a few scrawny tomatoes left in the vines, and there's another one. That's a pretty good little pumpkin for a jack-o'-lantern. And then there's a butternut squash. That's a very typical good size. And here's a watermelon with a very funny neck on it. It looks like it it might be okay to eat when it gets ripe, which is a few weeks. Okay. My watermelons were pretty disappointing. Try to find my way over. My watermelons. Well, I can take this now and I'll use that to put under stuff. My watermelons, I had a good 20 or so plants and they went all over, and the train's not helping. You're too loud. Okay. What was I? Yeah, my watermelons. It got real hot in June with not much rain, and they were growing, but they would put watermelons on, and the ends would rot. And I only got 2 small ones. That one, half of one that I had was actually tasted real good. So I didn't get much for watermelons. So I ate the cantaloupe instead, and I had good cantaloupe this year. And here is, off of this one plant, this volunteer pumpkin plant. It's got 2 nice pumpkins on it. I think those are about full size. This plant looks like well, it may crawl around and put more pumpkins on it in a few weeks, but it put a lot of energy into those 2, and it's not looking as pretty as it was. Pretty of a plant. And I'm going to go over here and look at these. Am I getting okay? I got a couple comments. Is this morning chores? Yes. It's all Grady. And then good morning to It's All Grady. Thanks for watching. Aussie Mozzie. Well, speaking of Aussie, we're going to Australia next spring. And I don't know if Aussie Mozzie's from Australia or not. And Aussie Mozzie says hello, and I said hello back. Happy Labor Day, everybody. And I'm going up here and look through the fence. Here's my 3 gobs of volunteer tomatoes that I put posts around and I strapped in, and they're still putting a good number of tomatoes on. Not too bad. I had a worm problem with them quite a bit, and I keep spraying, and lately they've been pretty worm free. I might go around, and that is interesting. I got a pumpkin that's hanging on the fence from this vine. The vine came out of this middle tomato, and it climbed this fence and went up, and it went over, and it finally got a pumpkin on it, and it's a warty pumpkin. I may go back over there and show. Okay, so much for that. And this is with the asparagus. I'm going to harvest. I'm going to let these plants get strong. How many hills we got? We got 2 there. We got 1 there. I think 4. I thought we had 5. Maybe we have 5. 4 or 5 asparagus groups. I think it's just 4. And I've harvested some seed from the one over there, and I'll plant some more in between and try to get that whole area with asparagus. Nana likes asparagus, so I'm trying to get her a good group of plants that put out in the spring. I moved those in from the neighbors because there were, neighbors, new neighbors. They didn't like what I was doing over there, so I had to bring I transplanted asparagus, and most of them survived. I'm gonna go over here right at the end. That tomato's it's a colossal mess. Still working. I wonder if this is a volunteer tomato that May put some on. It already had tomatoes on it, and then it died back, and then it's starting to go again. Oh, I forgot to show these beans. These are some that are still green. These are turkey craw beans, and I'm saving the seed off of these plants that were planted in the spring. I've already harvested quite a bit of seed, and I might do this, wait a few days and get these pods that are ripe. There's still some green ones. These were green just the other day. That's going to be a good amount of seed there. So we're going to have enough turkey craw seed. A family members want some, and I'll give them some of my seed, keep some for myself. I put the seed in the freezer to keep it going for many years, keep it from viable. Okay, I was going to show this this funny pumpkin. It's actually, for being 11:30 in the morning, it's quite comfortable out right now. Oh boy. Oh, I'm gonna dump my rain gauge. What is that again? 30. Shoot, did we get more rain? That'd be 30. No. 28, yeah. Okay, we got 2,800 yesterday. About a quarter of an inch. Dump it out for that rain Thursday. And I keep track of rain because it kind of helps with the watering. How much watering I'll have to do. That rain gauge is, gosh, I think it's from the 1980s. It still works. I'm constantly pulling up grass. Yeah, this tomato's really sprawling. Lots of tomatoes on it. Okay, where is that? That is something. That is probably mixed. That is definitely mixed with a gourd. That's a pumpkin, but that's got so much gourd characteristics on all the bumps. That's amazing. I'm going to take a photo of that when I stop this stream, which is probably in a couple minutes. So thanks for watching Jim Miller's Garden. A nice day to be out and look the garden over. Still going strong in early September. Happy Labor Day, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the few comments. I'm going to keep doing this. I think I got another thumbs up. I'm up to 4. And it's been about an hour. That's good. So this is the end of the stream, Jim Miller's Garden. And I'm going to leave you with Warty Pumpkin. Thanks for watching.